Would you like to work closer to home, save money on gas, and be rewarded for your hard work and attendance? Then Belicio Foods is looking for you. That's right, Belicio Foods is now hiring for multiple positions and shifts with great employee benefits, an on-site health clinic, competitive wages, and advancement opportunities. Belicio Foods is a company that truly values their employees. Apply online at beliciofoods.com/careers.
Well, good morning, everyone, and happy day before Thanksgiving. Whoop, whoop. Okay, well, we'll get into that. But we hope that you all are enjoying your Wednesday before Thanksgiving. Hope all of the hustle and bustle doesn't get to you and all of that stuff. We do have a special guest in the house today, and we are not going to let her get out of here without finding out whether she is a weird eater like our Adrian over there or not. We had a whole Thanksgiving discussion yesterday.
I missed
about
it.
Food touching and all of this stuff.
Oh, I can't wait to talk about that.
Oh, yeah.
I am a weird one.
Yeah. It can't be any weirder than this one over here, but
we'll see.
Do you still have Cheryl's picture from the? So Cheryl. This is how Cheryl eats her Thanksgiving dinner, and Adrian with no food touching.
Yes.
And
okay,
a chip and dip tray.
Yeah, I'm not that bad, but I don't want it touching.
Well, we can find out all about our Thanksgiving eating habits here in just a second. Well, before we get to that, could you tell everyone who you are?
I'm Brianna Exline, and I am the owner of Bookish, new and used. The name has kind of changed a couple times because I started out being Bookish by Bri, and now with it being downtown, I've kind of changed it to Bookish, new and pre-loved books, and a lot of times I just say Bookish. So, but
Bookish it is.
Bookish, yes. So it's just the downtown bookstore that just came in. So
we love that, and there's So do you go by Bri or Brianna?
Either one.
Okay.
My family has always called me Bri, and that's just kind of what stuck here recently. And yeah, but either one is fine.
So, I mean, there's so much stuff to talk about with books because, you know, there's the new school thing where you download a book or you listen to a book. And I hate that. I
do it all. So I'll have the Audible on my phone, and I do the
Audible
Kindle
thing if I'm traveling or something.
Yeah.
I do that.
But there's nothing like holding the physical book,
like the tactile, like
even
it's
the
just,
smell.
Yes,
like, there's just something about a new book smell, like totally different than having it online and digital.
Just having that page where it's so easy to go, wait, what did they say a second ago? And you go back 2 pages, and it's not like digital where you're like, oh God, now I've lost my place. Right. And it's just, that's stressful to me.
It is.
It is so stressful. Not to mention I can't see because I'm old. But no, there is just something about holding on to a book and its pages. I'm the same way with magazines.
Yes.
And also pre-loved books where they all have a story of where they've been and who's held them before you and all that. How cool is that?
I actually found one over the summer. We had been to Myrtle Beach, and there's a little bookstore down there. So I had went and grabbed some used books for myself. Sure. And I opened up, and inside was a receipt, and the receipt was from somewhere in Texas. And I'm like, okay, so this book has been to Texas.
Right.
I purchased it in Myrtle Beach, and then I brought it home to Ohio. Like, it just has a story.
The story that it could tell. Like, that is so fun.
Yeah.
That's why libraries are fun when they used to have the, I don't know, do they still have the little card in the back?
No.
Okay. That was so fun because you could be like, this person's been reading it and all that. So that was actually kind of cool. But so let's talk about Bookish for a minute. And how did you get involved with books?
So I am actually the middle school librarian here in Jackson. Mm-hmm. So I've always had a love for reading. And actually, after you said Adrian, I believe I was his 3rd grade teacher. Did I have you in Adrian Sharp?
Yeah.
And so I had him in third grade, and I have always taught reading. And then I went back. I decided I needed to get my master's degree. Went back to Kent State University to get my library science degree. And then Laurel Marion, she was the former librarian at the middle school. She had retired, and I took her spot. I've always, even growing up, like I have always been a reader. And but then more recently, I joined a book club, and one of the months, I think it was the month of February, because we were going to do the wrapped books. Have you seen like the blind date with the book?
Well,
Have
we
you
can
seen
talk about
those?
that too. I've heard about it,
Yes.
but you can go further with that.
So that's how I kind of started, but you just wrap the book up in whatever kind of wrapping paper you want, and then stick little gifts and cute. I do pens and highlighters and little like Post-it notes so you can flag your book. And so I stick all of those down inside, and I started doing vendor events with those.
Yes.
And so that's how I really got started with Bookish, and that was when it was Bookish by Bri, and I was just going all over the place. And I was up at Brewdog in Columbus, which was really fun.
Yeah.
I've done all the sidewalk markets in town. So, and then I got into Kelly Logan's Apple City Artisans.
Yes.
So that's really how it came about. And then that's been about 10 months now, because I think, 9 or 10
This
months
has gone
now.
fast.
It really has. And it got popular, and everyone was excited to buy the blind dates. And
Where did you come up with that? Is that like a Pinterest thing,
It
or
is.
is it
It's a
like something that
TikTok
you like
thing.
came up with?
nope, I can't take credit for it.
Okay, no, I don't know.
It's a TikTok thing, and all these girls were on there rapping so pretty, and I just kind of followed their lead, and they were showing you exactly how to wrap the book so it looked nice, and then it leaves little folds in the top so that way you can tuck your little pins and all that stuff down inside. And I just kind of stole that idea and ran with it. And I knew no one in Jackson had done that before, because I had been to the sidewalk markets and different vendor events in town, and I just hadn't seen it. And reading is kind of, I feel like since COVID, reading has kind of come back around. It was kind of dead for a while.
Everything
maybe.
old comes new again, right?
Yes. So I feel like because people were home and there wasn't much to do, they picked up a book.
Yeah.
And I feel like since about 2020, reading has really picked up, and that's
You're right.
yeah.
And I don't know how I got off of it, because as my mom reads, oh my God, I don't know how she does it. I mean, she can pick up a book and she'll be like, okay, finish, like 3 hours later.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? It would take me 3 weeks, you know? But so she's an avid reader. And as a little girl, I read every night before I went to sleep. I read all the time. I would just escape into books, and somehow I got out of it, but I could see it would be so nice to get back into it.
Yes.
And I think it's just because we all run around and say we don't have time.
Yes, that's
But
exactly what it is.
That's BS.
Yes.
Take 15
Yes.
minutes out of your day and read a little bit.
I try, because I do have a son, and he's 9, and so he's active, and we run around with him and stuff. But I try at night. And now with opening this bookstore, it's probably been a good 3 months since I've read a book, and that makes me so sad.
That's ironic, because
I
you're
know.
making sure everyone else is reading.
But
not
we've
yourself.
been up at the store until 10 o'clock at night, and then I'm coming home and turning around and going to work the next morning, and so there really honestly hasn't been time. But I use that excuse too, that I don't have time, but really I could put my phone down or
Sure.
put the TV remote away or
Exactly.
whatever. Yeah, and make the time. So
Yeah, you're exactly right. So there's a couple of, I guess, different things. I want to talk about your store, but I want to talk about this like blind date with a book thing. And so explain exactly how that works. Like you're getting a surprise, right?
You are.
You have no idea.
yes, so a lot of people, when I saw them, they did not even put a hint on the outside, and that kind of gave me anxiety because I've read a lot of books. So then if I were to buy one of those that didn't even have a hint on the outside, then there's a good chance I've read that book maybe. So what
That's a
I
good
kind of
point.
did to change it up a little was I try to do a short summary, and even if it's just the genre of the book, or I'm not a fan of the sci-fi and fantasy stuff. So if I were to get that in my blind date, I wouldn't like that. So at least
Okay.
if I saw like romance on the outside, or historical
Biography
fiction,
or something.
Yeah, it will tell you kind of like the tags. Like you've seen things tagged online when you do your searches. And so I just kind of use some of those tags. And then Goodreads. I don't know if you know anything about Goodreads. It's just a digital tracking website that you can track what you've read and you can rate it and put a little comment in.
We have that. It's called Untapped for Beer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's an app where you rate it and you say where you've drank the beer and
oh my gosh,
when and where and all that.
Yes.
So yeah, I know exactly
you put
what
the
you mean.
dates in on Goodreads when you've read it and everything. So I usually use that rating on the outside of the blind date.
Okay.
And that way like, okay, I'm not getting a crappy book because nobody wants to read a book, a bad book. So I try to make sure that they're, up to date, and I use new or very gently used. And sometimes if I do wrap one, like Colleen Hoover, for example, is so popular. So if I've had one that looks a little bit rougher, I'll put gently used and just a little warning on the outside, like, hey, this isn't going to be pristine condition. But for the most part, I'm using new and probably read like one time books. So those are wrapped up. And then, like I said, you get the little accessories on the outside that are so fun. And I think the accessories and the stuff on the outside kind of draws you to it.
Sure.
Because it just looks pretty. And I know a lot of the ones that you'll see on Pinterest are the craft paper, the brown regular paper. And I've been trying to use different, not textures, but I guess, I don't know.
Prints.
Yes, thank you. Yeah. Different prints. And that way it's fun. And so for Christmas, I have them and they're in Christmas paper. And then a lot of times I do flower things because honestly, they're geared toward women, I feel like. I have done some children's blind dates in the past, and those go pretty well. But I sell so many for
all the Judy Blume
women.
books.
Yes. And now it's like Diary of a Wimpy Kid, all those ones for kids.
Are Judy Blume books still relevant today?
Yes. And what happens is they just update the cover.
Aren't those a rite of passage?
Yes.
Like
everyone has to be reading them.
Every little girl has to read the whole series of those. Yeah.
Yes. Yep. They just update the cover, and that way it looks
more modern,
more attractive for a kid to be like, okay, this is what I want to read. Okay. Yeah. So
that's awesome. Yeah. So what are some of the other kid books that the kids are into right now?
Definitely Dog Man. And there's actually a Dog Man, a new book coming out December 2nd or 3rd. I can't remember, but we're doing a pre-order. So he was a police officer, and I feel my son loved him, and I can't remember. There was some kind of accident, like maybe he got chased by the dog or something, and he ends up going through this surgery, and he becomes Dog Man, and it's a dog that's a police officer. It's so silly. I don't know, Adrian, I feel like Dog Man was a thing when you were in class.
Was it? Okay.
Yes, and it's big, isn't it? Everyone really likes it, and so they're actually coming out. The new book is either December 2nd or 3rd, and it's going to be pre-order at the bookstore. So if anyone's interested in that, you can stop by and pre-order that for the day of the release. And then there's a movie coming out for it too.
Awesome.
So it's really big. Diary of a Wimpy Kid, like I said, that's been for years. Also, that was probably when Adrian was in class too.
That was way past my prime. I don't know what that is either. I know there's movies about that.
There are movies with that one. And a lot of times I feel like those are the ones that are popular, the ones that have the movies.
Okay.
I'm trying to think what else has been really popular lately.
Are there any Judy Blooms of the new generation, or are we all just still reading those books?
I just think we're all reading those. I mean, I really can't think of one author that's like, oh, this one, they're all reading this. And
I guess Harry Potter would be a whole situation where kids got into that was way past my...
Yes. I recommend at the middle school, it's April Henry, and she writes mysteries. They're creepy. Like, I read one, and we have a long hallway, and where I lay in bed, I can see the long hallway. It was something like her best friend dies, and then she has to figure out who has killed her, but the ghost comes back to help. I couldn't lay in bed at night and look down that long hallway. It creeped me out. And these are like middle school books. So, April Henry, if you're into creepy... they love I Survived. They're like historical fiction ones. Well, I say historical fiction, but they're based off of a real event that has
Person,
happened.
yeah.
So there's like a 9/11 one, and there's a Titanic, and
I got ya.
all these
But it's
different
like a
ones.
fictional
But it's
person in that event.
Yes, a child that is experiencing the event. Yeah,
That's awesome.
So they do like those.
Do Encyclopedia Brown books still exist?
Not. I'm sure they still exist, but I don't have them. Like,
you know what I'm talking about?
I do know what you're talking about.
Those were so cool.
Yes, I feel like we have moved on from Encyclopedia Brown, but
They were fun. That was like, we got so excited because if you don't know, Encyclopedia Brown was like this kid detective. But then when you got to the end of the book, there was like numerous endings and you got to pick your ending.
Yes.
So it ended
And
like
there are
all these
books
different
like
ways.
that. I've
Okay.
noticed. I've got some at school, but not necessarily Encyclopedia Brown.
Look it up. It was
But
cute.
also encyclopedias aren't really a thing. I mean, they're kind of a thing of the past.
Kids are like, what's an encyclopedia?
Right. So then to have that title.
True that.
Are they going to grab it? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I feel you. I feel you. But it's just, man, getting kids involved in reading at an early age so that, hopefully you can continue that love on is so important. I know. And as a middle school librarian, I'm sure that that's one of your goals.
Yes, definitely. So,
What
and that
are-
was the reason why I did all of this. I mean,
Sure.
my son, he's a reader. I mean, we were coming home the other day from my mom's, and she lives maybe 3 minutes down the road, and he opened up it's called Warrior Cat, and it's cats that are warriors.
Okay.
Yeah. So he opened it up, and he started reading it on the way home, and just 3 minutes down the road. So I hope that I'm instilling that love in him and lots of other children, hopefully. So
Sure. So how, as a school librarian, and then we'll get to, obviously you're here to talk about your store, which I think is so very cool. And I'm so happy that you've chosen to take that leap here in Jackson. But how has being a librarian or libraries changed over time? I mean, you're talking about encyclopedias. Like,
Right.
This is a girl that my mom literally, did the whole like buy an encyclopedia a month situation. And I
Yes.
had a set in my room, and that's how I did papers and all
the
that
sales
stuff.
people would come to your house to
Yes.
sell a whole set of encyclopedias.
Yeah, and you could buy like
Yes.
one at a time.
Yes.
And sometimes you got halfway through and didn't. I happened to have the whole set. My mom. I thank you, Mom, for doing that. But yeah, how have libraries changed?
It's so
the Dewey
different.
Decimal System and all that
Right.
card catalog stuff.
My library, and this may totally blow some people out of the water, my library is not divided up by the Dewey Decimal System. And the reason being is when you think about like Netflix or Hulu, when these kids are sitting down and they're watching TV, they're looking up the genre of the show that they want to watch. Right? So they're going to sit down and they're like, okay, I like to watch mysteries or I like
comedy
to watch
or-
comedies. Yeah, that's
Sure.
how they are going to choose a Netflix movie or whatever.
Okay.
So I set it up in my library to be very similar where I want the kids to come in and think, okay, I really like history, so I'm going to go to this history section.
Okay.
So then I have a separate section. That's all the fiction is divided up by genre. So we have self-help and classics and humor and mystery and fantasy, all different sections. So they can just go and select the book that they'd want to read. And then we also have the nonfiction.
Okay.
And I did something similar with that. So instead of having, and it would be all the Dewey Decimals for like football would be together. So I put all the football together and the baseball and science. And
So you
maybe
kind of did
space.
it without doing it.
Kind of did it without doing it.
I got
Yes, not so labeled in order, but it's still there and they can choose by topic that they are interested in.
Okay.
So that's kind of how I get them interested in it. I tell them that at the beginning of the year, think about your Netflix and what you like. So
Yeah. And times they are a-changing. Like, for example, so I was at the tap room the other day in the kitchen, and so we had a kid in there that's still in high school.
Mm-hmm.
He was working, 17 years old. And then we have like some kids that are, early 20s. And then we have like, my husband and I who are not. And I'm like, okay, let's talk about what you learned in the third grade.
Mm-hmm.
And it was so different.
Mm-hmm.
It was such an interesting conversation because
Yes.
I can remember third grade was I learned every day we learned, or every week or month or whatever, we learned how to do cursive. That was
Yes.
like the thing. And some of the kids were like, the younger guys were like, oh, yeah, we did like 1 month of cursive and then we've never touched it again. I
Right.
couldn't write in cursive if I had to.
Yep.
And then one kid was like, well, I had someone write down my name in cursive and
they just copy their name.
copied it. So I know how to do my signature,
sign.
but I don't know how to write in cursive. And I'm
Yep.
like, this is blowing my mind.
It is.
Like
It is
how
crazy.
different the generations are.
And I think part of that is the technology aspect,
Sure.
and that's something big in my job that maybe people don't realize. I'm the middle person between the kids and the Chromebooks and our computer guys that fix them.
Yes.
So I have a bunch of computer skills that I'm like, I can fix some of this stuff before I have to turn it over to the tech guys.
Somebody else.
Yeah, and people probably think, oh, librarian, like that's, just books, but it really isn't anymore. It's
Right.
all that technology.
You've got to
and
learn all that and keep up with the times.
You really do. So it's a
hard.
big job. Yeah.
And
I love it.
Just
but-
right. But in this transition that we've come just through technology, like I blow their minds because, my mind got blown because they weren't alive during 9/11. So when we had that, this whole situation, a month or two ago, I'm like, wait, you guys weren't even born then. Like,
Yeah.
I'm sitting there trying to explain to them what it felt like and all that. And then, like, I'm trying to tell them, like, I didn't have my own computer in college. We had a computer lab that you had to go to.
I also had a computer lab. I don't know how that dates me, but I had a laptop also, but we had the computer lab.
Yeah, we
too,
didn't have any of that. Like, no one had their own computer.
Yeah.
We didn't have cell phones in college.
Yeah.
Like, how we ever did anything social, I'll never know.
Right.
It didn't hold us back, trust me.
Right.
But
Well,
it was
you
just
were forced to talk to people, and
Yeah.
I think some of that
It's a
has
whole
kind of went
different-
away.
yeah.
Yeah. So
So, and I guess my whole point to this discussion in talking with you is so much fun because it's just how have books evolved
Yes.
over time
Yes.
and whatever. So if you had your choice, or is it just where you're at and what situation you're in as far as actually holding a book versus an ebook versus listening to a book? If you had your choice, what would you do?
definitely having the physical book.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I like it on the phone. I like it on Kindle because I have the Kindle app on my phone. So then if we're at a doctor's appointment or practice
Okay.
or something, I can have it. And I feel like I probably read quicker having it on a Kindle,
Sure.
but I don't like to read that way.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
Something about it. It's just not.
Yeah. It's not the same.
No, I feel you. I feel you. Well, let's talk for a little bit about Bookish and, how'd you get, I know we kind of talked about how you got started,
Yeah.
but how did you end up where you're at today?
So Chris Miller has been a long time friend, I guess you could call her, because my one of my best friends in high school was her daughter Beth. Beth Miller was
Yes.
one of my best friends. So I've known Chris, for years, and she was going to open Ellie Mills Mercantile.
Which she
And
did.
She did.
We're
and
so
it's
proud
so
of her.
awesome in there. So one of the times that she was posting about it, she was asking for people who would be interested in renting out a space.
Mm-hmm.
And, I have a full-time job. So really at the moment, having my own bookstore in a separate brick and mortar was not going to work for me.
Because you couldn't staff it.
I couldn't staff it,
Yeah.
and just starting out, you wouldn't want to pay someone to work because
Right.
that's a big expense.
Sure.
So when Chris said she was doing Ellie Mills and she had these separate rooms in the back, I thought, oh my gosh, this is the best opportunity.
Yeah.
Because
this is perfect.
Yes, and she is the staffer. She staffed the whole building. So you go into the bookstore and shop around, and then you take your purchases to the cash register, and that's how you do any one of her vendors in there.
That's
So
awesome.
that way I don't have to be there, and I love to be there, and I really do try. We do a lot of special events that we have. I've made sure that I'm there, and after school I'm always stopping by and stuff, but it's nice to be able to have it, and it's there, and I know it's being taken care of
Yes.
well, and I don't have that responsibility of having this full-blown business that I have to
Perfect.
so it's just worked out really well.
That is amazing. It was just like a match made in heaven, right?
It really was, and it just kind of fell into my lap. And I talked to my husband, and I'm like, I really think this is what I've got to do, just to get my feet wet and see how it goes. And and the community has totally blown me away. Like if I talk about it too much, I may get a little emotional.
No, that's
we
great.
Have been,
I mean, it is easy to get emotional.
It really
about
is because it's your baby. Like you have totally put your heart and
me,
soul.
I get it.
You know. I mean,
I do.
oh my gosh. And so for the community to show us as much love and support as we've already gotten, I'm blown away because we just did our grand opening, 2 weeks ago now? I mean, we have just been really impressed. And I mean, there are no words to even describe how thankful we are and how well it has been going so far. So
wonderful.
Yeah.
Love that. And so let's talk about Ellie Mills just for a moment in general as a business that's kind of an umbrella over
really
top
is.
of a lot of other businesses.
Yeah.
And kind of explain, because you all, I mean, like Chris has really put her heart and soul into this
Absolutely.
situation
Yes.
as well. And yes, and I'm the same. So her sister Hannah is one of my best friends from
Okay,
high school. So
yes.
Chris had to put up with me a lot growing up too. So God bless her for that. But yeah, she's just a sweet, sweet lady. And
she really is.
I'm so glad that this came to fruition for her, because she's been
Yes.
working on it a long time. So let's talk about where it is and when it's open and all that stuff too, and a little bit about the store in general, since she's not here to plug it herself.
She's going to be eventually.
she will
I'm
be
super
here.
excited for that to watch. So Ellie Mills is at 211 Broadway Street, and she is open Tuesday through Friday, 10 to 6. And on Saturday, it's 10 to 4. It is basically a place that you can shop for anyone, for anything. There are over 20, I think she said 27 businesses total inside of this one store. So you walk in and there's just vendor booths at every corner, and such a wide variety of things for kids. My mother actually opened a children's boutique inside of there. Like, I gave her the fever of owning a business.
Fun.
Yes. So she opened Three Littles and a Cat. There's a women's boutique that's run by Lake and Camp, and it is called Chavez Crossing. She has the cutest clothes, and I can't stay out of there. I'm like, I've got to get out of here.
This is not
like,
good for my pocketbook.
And same with my mom's. Like, she's got the cutest things for my son, and I'm like, I can't do this.
I'm not looking.
But yes, and that's how it is anytime you walk into Ellie Mills. There's always something new because the vendors are constantly restocking, and there's just something for everyone. So honestly, it's a great spot to get all of your shopping done for this upcoming season.
We have Christmas coming up in less than a month.
And shop local. You know, that's very
all
important to keep it in our economy here in Jackson. So it's just been perfect timing to be open for that reason, because everybody is coming out and shopping, and it's just a great little spot. And I really think even for tourism, I mean, when people come into Jackson, they're looking for things to do. Well, you've got Ellie Mills that has 27 little spots to shop.
It's going to interest, I mean, there's going to be something there that interests everybody.
Absolutely. Men, women, kids, anybody.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's a great little spot. I'm excited.
Well, very cool. And when someone comes into Bookish, what will they see in your particular store?
So inside of Bookish, I tried to make it calming and comfortable, and that way people feel like they can even stay a minute. I've got 2 little seating areas, but I have, I think I'm up to 4 shelves of, no, more than that. I don't know. Lots of shelving that have the new and pre-loved books on it, and they are just wrapped around the outskirts of the room.
Okay.
In the middle, I've got a table that's full of gifts. I've got a hutch that's full of little gifts.
Okay.
So it's not just books. I have inspirational, like devotional type things. There's a whole inspirational section, and
that's awesome
for religious, because we don't have any of the Christian bookstores
well,
anymore.
they're all gone.
So they are.
Yeah.
So I do have a small section for that, and have been trying to add more and more in that section because that stuff has really been selling, which is really good. And I think in this area, you know, a lot of people do read the Christian, you know.
Oh my
Between
gosh.
that and the Amish books, I am amazed. Do you
There
know
are Amish
there
books?
are Amish books? I have a whole little
What?
Amish section. Yes.
Like, what are they?
they're just different stories. Some of them are mysteries, and some of them are little love stories, and they're just very sweet.
How
You didn't even
cute.
know.
No, I didn't know.
And it'll be like the mystery of the quilting, whatever, and maybe I can't remember, one of them is something about quilting, and something was stolen, a special quilt was stolen, and they had to figure out why. And yeah, it's a whole thing that people love to read. Yeah. She's looking at me like,
that's amazing. No, and I will tell you, some of my favorite books I've ever received. I love all kind of books, but like some of my favorite books have come from the inspirational stores or the book and Bible stores or whatever. And they are like, I have this one, it's called, because I grew up showing horses.
Yeah.
So it's like Horses as Healers. And I got that at one of the Christian bookstores. And then there was another horse one that I got that was like, what was the Chicken Soup for the Soul?
Oh yeah,
but it was Chicken Soup for the horse's lover's soul or something. And I got one of those at like a book like that at one of the religious stores, and I was like, okay, there's some really cool stuff here.
Yes.
So you don't have to go all over the place. You can just come to Bookish and get all of that.
Yep.
And if somebody has something like a special request, can you order it for them?
I have had people message me and ask me to look for a certain book. And I have been able to go through my vendors and see if I can find it and things. Yeah, so I can definitely do that. That's not a problem at all to try to do that.
Have you ever come across, like, in your travels, I mean, you said that you bought some books down in Myrtle Beach and whatever. Have you ever come across, like, a really cool, like, old school, like, book that would be, like, really expensive, like a find? Wouldn't that be fun?
I have a friend that was just talking to me about this because I was telling her, I told online that I was accepting donations. That's how I first kind of started, and I thought, because I had some used books, but not enough to stock a whole bookstore. So when I first started back in July, I posted, hey, I'm looking for book donations. Well, I got a lot of those older, like Reader's Digest. Do you remember those?
Yeah.
And they were like the individual and had a bunch of different stories in them.
Yes.
So I had a bunch of those, and the covers are so pretty on those. And so I was talking to a friend, and she has some that were like school books from the 1800s and stuff. And I haven't really ever taken an interest in those, but
McGuffey readers. I have some of those.
Yes. So I definitely have seen some really cool stuff come in, even through those donations. But at the bookstore, I haven't really done anything like that. So there are other vendors in there, though. As you walk around, you'll see some of them have the little stacks, and I think they've done them up as like decor. But they're so pretty, and they're those antique books wrapped up.
Yes.
And
they don't. Let's just same as always. They don't make stuff like they used to. I mean, some of these old school books are just gorgeous.
Yes. Yeah.
The hard covers and the leather and all of that stuff.
And those Reader's Digest, they have a bunch of floral patterns on the outside, and there's no title on them. It's just on like the spine. So it just makes it more
really
like a decoration.
pretty.
Yeah, it's so pretty. So definitely hung on to those. I almost want to do a project or something because I've been trying to do events at Bookish. And we have some events coming up that maybe we could talk about too.
Yeah, please.
But one of those things I'm like, can we do something and make a little decoration or something with those? Because they are really pretty.
Yeah. So. Absolutely. Let's talk about some of the events that you've done, but some that you have coming up as well, and just events at Ellie Mills in general.
Yeah. So the very first event that I did at Bookish was Books and Bagels. And it was so fun. My cousin actually has a little in-home bakery, and she brought the bagels, and then I did coffee and hot chocolate from the spot.
Awesome.
And so we had that set up, and then everybody got to kind of explore. And that was before we even did the grand opening. So it was just kind of like to get our feet wet and just kind of see how it goes. And we had an amazing response to it. There were all kinds of people that came. And then we did the grand opening, of course, and people were in and out that day, and that was a lot of fun. But the upcoming events, Ellie Mills and Chavez Crossing, Three Littles and a Cat, and I are going to do a mom's night out. and it is on December 11th.
Fun.
In connection with Apple Tots. We were talking about Apple Tots before we
off
got
the air,
on.
yeah.
So Apple Tots is going to offer the childcare, and the kids are going to be taken care of, and they can play, and they're going to be painting and having a blast there.
Fun.
And then the mom can come over and enjoy. We have some hairstylists coming that are going to do different things, offer different things. Someone's going to be doing facials. And then, of course, you get to shop for a little bit without your kid. So that's one of our things. I know, like, that's important, especially at Christmas. Like,
Right?
you can't see what you're buying. So there's going to be a 5 o'clock and a 6:30 option. So you've got about an hour and a half to come in and shop and be without your kid. Yeah, so that's one coming up. We are doing the cookie walk, of course, the downtown cookie walk that's going to be going on. And that's on the 5th. I am doing with Bookish a story time with the Grinch and story time with Mrs. Claus and Santa. So those are both super exciting. Yes. So I feel like getting people in and showing them what Ellie Mills and Bookish and all of our little vendors is all about. Like, that's so important right now. So I can't wait to have those events and have everyone come in. And
you know what I love about, this is the first thing that my husband said about that whole situation, the Ellie Mills situation, is he said, "Oh my God, they're actually open." Like, they have hours where they're
good
open.
Yes.
And I was like, you're right.
Yes.
Because I think
6 o'clock. I mean, people get off work at 5, and then they
this
can't
is
go
great.
anywhere.
It's
So,
just perfect.
yeah.
And for Chris to be able to be in there and willing to staff it and that kind of thing makes a world of difference for people like you that could never have your own brick and mortar right now, because real jobs come into play, and time is valuable.
Yes.
So this is so cool, and it's just so nice that it's like open.
Yes. Absolutely.
Because I'll be honest with you, local businesses have to all work together, right? So, like, we'll have people come in the tap room and be like, "Hey, we're traveling through. What are cool things that we can do here in town while we're here?" "Well, have you been to Michael's for a bubble? What's that?"
Yeah.
"Well, you better go find out," because you're going to be really sad if you didn't.
Right.
But it's also like, take a walk around the block. Take a walk around the 2 blocks of our downtown, and you're going to be able to find a really cool, places for people to go. So we're just so fortunate to have people investing in the downtown.
Absolutely.
And it is, I hope people appreciate, it's hard.
It is.
It's expensive.
Yes.
And it's hard.
Yes.
And
it takes
stressful.
a lot. Yes, stressful, and takes a lot away from your family. I mean, that's been a big issue with Bookish. I mean, I'm not home to even...
Like, it's easy to
do
go.
the bedtime routines.
Listen, being a librarian at school is not easy, but it's way easier than running your own business. Like, I could go get a job that, you show up at 8 and you leave at 4 or whatever time that is, and go home and.
Right.
But that's not.
No.
What local business owners are doing.
And I'm laying in bed ordering books and, when I should be asleep, but it's a lot. But it's worth it. It's
and that's
absolutely
the whole point.
worth it.
It is worth it. Yeah. And that's why you do it. Because you love it. And I think we talked about this off the air. The community deserves it.
Absolutely.
And sometimes you feel like, if I don't do it, who's going to do it?
Right.
Or I don't know.
And I think that's how I felt about Chris coming in. And, my husband and I, we talked about the money, and we talked about, but I felt the same. I mean, if I don't do it, nobody, isn't anybody going to
what she's doing as well.
Right.
Which is supporting you. It's like all this wonderful circle
really is.
Of folks coming together and doing great things. So, okay. So Ellie Mills as a business, and again, 211, you said Broadway Street here in Jackson, right beside the is it right beside the quilt store?
The quilt store, yes.
Which is a whole other situation.
Oh, it's amazing.
By the way.
Her building is
she is unbelievable.
She is.
Which and again, hidden gem. If you're not into quilting, you probably don't appreciate what we have here in downtown Jackson. But that's a whole other story. But talk about Ellie Mills, maybe some of the events coming up as a whole.
So definitely the Mom's Night Out.
The Mom's Night Out,
everybody
yep.
as a whole. I'm trying to think. I hate to get my phone out.
No, you're fine.
I don't know. I can't remember.
And Chris actually has, while, it's her store, but she has a lot of furniture, things like that.
She does. That's what she is selling, decor and candles and the furniture. It's beautiful in there. She's got a whole living room set up that you can just go in and see the couch, and like it just gives you good ideas of what you would want in your house.
Yeah.
And it's a really cool spot. And she sold, grand opening day, she sold 2 kitchen tables. I'm like, this is amazing. Like,
That'll
we
do.
needed this. Exactly.
Yes.
Like, we needed this in Jackson, because where can you can go to Big Lots, but like quality wise, and you're not supporting local,
Correct. And
so, other than that, where can you go?
I don't know. You go, and I'm struggling with this right now and wanting to do some decorating in my house. And I've always been like one of those people that wants to mix new and old together.
Yes.
Because I just think, there's so many tables out there, for example, what you're saying.
Yes.
They don't make them like that anymore. And, you could go on Wayfair, or you can do the Amazon, or, go to whatever online thing. Number one, you can't see it. You can't touch it.
Right.
You can't sit on it.
Yeah.
And it's going to show up, and it's probably got something wrong with it, or a ding, or
Well, then you have to put it together.
Then you got to put it together.
It's like,
right.
You go to Ellie Mills and your piece is put together and it's beautiful. You know what you're getting. So
exactly.
Yeah.
So please consider that, especially, today, this weekend with Small Business Saturday, and then throughout the holiday season and more, of supporting local. And how easy is it? It's one-stop shopping in one building full of a bazillion vendors.
And on Small Business Saturday, we are giving away coupons as you walk in the door, and they can scratch them and they'll receive, like, I think my thing that I was doing was a free used book. So they can pick one of those pre-loved books for free. I think Ellie Mills was doing so much off your purchase. And so there are little tags that you're going to get, and you can scratch off and then go shop. So that's kind of an incentive, like, come see us on Saturday. So
Absolutely.
Yeah, and then she's also going to be open for Black Friday. So I'm not sure, with the different vendors being in there, I'm not sure what different specials and things that will be open.
Everybody can do their own thing.
Exactly. And that's why I like it so much in there, because it is very much what you want to make it. And,
yes.
I had someone I definitely took it as a compliment, because I'm a huge Friends fan.
Yeah.
Do you like
Yeah,
Friends?
of course.
She told me that it was like the bookstore was like walking into Friends. Like, that's where they would go to the bookstore. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like a little New York nook, and like, so
Love
sweet.
that.
So it's whatever you want to make it. It's a really cool space up there.
Well, and I think one of my sayings for the past 20 years has been, just because we live in a small town doesn't mean we can't have big city things.
Exactly.
And I feel like there's so many people now that are thinking that way.
I think so too.
Like, we deserve, in Jackson, Ohio, we deserve the perks of living in a small town, but also having all the niceties of big city.
Yes.
Yeah, we don't have a mall. Okay, fine.
Right.
I got you. But to have people that are outside the box thinkers, and that are so passionate about bringing their ideas to our little community, we just can't thank you enough for that, because it's just really, really cool. So
thank you.
You guys are all doing amazing.
Thank you.
So, okay. So the blind date with a book, do you have those ready to go? Like, those would be great Christmas presents.
They would, absolutely. I do have some. I think I have 4 or 5 in there right now, not very many. I'm still actually selling things at Apple City Artisans also.
Oh, okay.
So I have
down
a
at
lot
Kelly's
of it, down
place.
at Kelly's, yes. So I actually have tons of Christmas ones down there.
Okay.
And I think I'm gonna stick with it being up there too, because
Okay.
it kind of gives me a separate little spot out for those blind dates.
Sure.
And
Love
then
that.
the bookstore has the new and pre-loved, and then, you know, it just kind of keeps it separate. And people can say, okay, well, I've been to Apple City Artisans and I bought this book, and now I can come visit Ellie Mills. So
That's
it kind of
right.
combines our downtown
Two
businesses.
different, very, very good businesses
Yes.
doing kind of the same but different
Right,
things.
yeah.
Yeah, Kelly. So they know that I am not creative at all.
Yeah.
So Cheryl had Kelly come in here the other day and bring like a little ceramic tree and made
Oh,
me
yeah.
like paint it and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh
That is so
god, like
fun.
but it was
not for you.
no, it was good. It was good, but it stresses me out because
Yes.
I'm not creative.
Yes.
But she was forcing me to be, and I thought that I was so appreciative of that.
Yes, I love that. My son and I go often, and he paints something, and
It's
he's
so
a lot
cool.
faster than me. I'm almost like you, but I'm a perfectionist, so I want it to be perfect.
And that's my problem.
Yes.
Is I think that's why I can't be creative, because I can't get outside the box.
Right, right.
But, well, Bri, it's been so fun talking with you this morning. And please visit Bookish. Please visit Ellie Mills right there on Broadway Street, downtown Jackson, across from Hummingbird Music. You can't miss it. And it is just a lovely, lovely store. So is there anything else you wanted to tell our viewers before we let you get out of here? Pete Wilson is here.
I don't think so, but if they are interested in any of those events, they can check out either the Ellie Mills Facebook page or the Bookish Facebook page, and everything should be on there, all the details and dates and times and things. So
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much
Thank
for
you. This
hanging
was
with us
fun.
this morning.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Glad we got to know each other
Yes.
and got to find out about your new store. It's
Thank
so
you.
cool. So,
right.
all right. Well, we have a message from Vinton County Bank, and we'll be back with Pete Wilson in just a moment.
At Vinton County National Bank, we believe in supporting the areas where we live and work. Now, we'd like to honor those who also serve our communities. Our new Community Champions account is especially for first responders, veterans, active military, and anyone employed in the fields of healthcare or education. This account offers rewards, discounts, and other benefits to those who give so much to others. Vinton County National Bank, rewarding those who serve.
And we are back with our good friend Pete Wilson, and of course, always letting us know what's the latest and greatest in the news front. So, what's going on, buddy?
Okay, we are in the Christmas season without
Yes,
a doubt.
we are.
Okay, newsflash. We're going to tell you a little bit about some of the stuff coming up this weekend, which this is Wellston's big pre-Christmas celebration
Yes.
weekend. So we'll tell you a little bit about that. But we're going to start off with another story that we had in our Wednesday paper that's a pretty big news for the University of Rio Grande Community College, and Vinton County.
Okay.
And that is that the construction bid has been awarded for the new Rio Grande MacArthur Center.
Okay.
It's going to be, of course, there in the Cherry Hill development, where Campbell's Market is. They're just west of the high school and the middle school. That is Misty Napier, by the way, the picture we put up there. Why her picture is up there is she is the director of the MacArthur Center.
Okay.
Also happens to be a member of the Vinton County Local Board of Education.
Yep.
And at the last school board meeting, she was very happy to report the latest development, which is kind of like moving towards the starting block of actual construction.
Yeah, I love
and
that.
Here's another angle. By the way, that is a picture taken last May. That is the president of Rio Grande himself,
I know that guy.
Ryan Smith. And that was a red letter date for the university, for URG and MacArthur and Vinton County, because that was the big announcement last May that an $11.9 million Appalachian Community Grant had been awarded by the state to provide the lion's share of funding for this new building. The governor himself was there. This was one of the big awards in southeastern Ohio. So now, after all the hoops you had to go through, they put the project out to bid, and guess what? Randy Evans Construction of Jackson received the bid.
That doesn't surprise me.
That is a big job, and Randy Evans has got that. And of course, a lot of people very happy in Vinton County with his work there at the new
Sure.
Vinton County Bank building, which just opened earlier this week. Red Thompson Jr. took some pictures when he was there yesterday, and I'll take his word for it. He says it's beautiful. And we knew it was outside, but inside, and we'll share some of those pictures in the paper and here on Main Street TV maybe next week. But it's an $11.9 million grant. I think the building is going to be a little more than that. I'm not sure how the budgeting is going to work, the breakdown, but I know that Ryan Smith had told me back in May that the university, had started to squirrel money away for this project. And of course, that was a really big boost getting this grant because that's going to cover a lot of the money. But anyway, of course, we're almost into December, so I don't know when construction will actually start, but we can say, and I don't know exactly what the bid was. That's not been released, but we know that Randy Evans Construction won the bid.
Sure.
But of course, for those not familiar, the MacArthur Center has operated out of the old Vinton County High School building, where the district office is, the Board of Education, the old Vinton County High School on High Street in MacArthur. They've operated out of some rooms there, and so this is going to be a brand spanking new building that's going to be multi-purpose. Not only will it take care of the university's needs, but there's going to be some areas in there that the community can use. 19,000 square foot building. And it will have, in addition to classrooms, it will have offices, a banquet hall, and a conference center. So
Yeah, it's gonna
it'll
have
serve
kind of
the university
multi-purpose.
and the community as well. That was
Yeah.
the way that they wanted it. And so once again, this is another step forward. I know the plan was to hopefully be in that building for the next school year. I don't know whether that's still going to happen or not. You know how it is sometimes, weather and other details. So we'll see how quick that building can go up and the university. Regardless, they will be able to, expand their offerings a little bit. They'll be in a brand spanking new facility that makes you feel good just to be part of it. And I'm sure they'll have some bells and whistles there that they did not have before.
Oh, yes.
And this will be great for the education, especially for the folks in Vinton County, because it'll be so much more convenient for them, and not just through your traditional students, but for others, who are looking to enhance their resumes with some college classes or whatever. So
Love that.
we put that on the front page, and we consider that really big news. It's also big news that it's almost Christmas, and we're going to celebrate all over the place in Jackson and Vinton
Don't forget
counties.
Thanksgiving's tomorrow, though.
Yes, Thanksgiving.
We don't want to forget that
Thanksgiving is tomorrow. Thanksgiving is tomorrow, and I looked at the calendar. It is indeed about ready to arrive.
Yes.
It is tomorrow, and we do want you to make aware of a bunch of closures that are taking place. I know that's kind of routine stuff, but I want to remind you, it will. A lot of the governmental offices, of course, will be closed. Some will be closed on Friday. Some won't. Garbage service is going to be affected in a lot of areas. It will either be it will take place the next day or be canceled or whatever. So, be aware of what's happening, in your local community there so you don't get off the track. We had a handy dandy list in our Saturday paper, and we'll also have it in our, we had it a week ago Wednesday, and we also had it in our Saturday paper. It's online about all the closures because it is different. It's a mixed bag.
A lot of different things, yeah.
But anyway, as far as this weekend goes, Christmas Streets on Wellston Streets is this Saturday.
I'm glad you can spit it out because I can't.
I don't want to have to do it again, but it is
Getcha.
it is this Saturday, November the 30th, in downtown Wellston, mainly in the downtown area, the historic downtown area off of High Avenue, Railroad Avenue. A lot of activities, in Pride Park and the Depot, and of course all those decorated Christmas trees are there. And one of the highlights is going to be when they light those trees. It'll be time approximate. There's going to be a parade at 6:30 p.m. that will start, I believe, down there where the old high school was, and it will wind around down there to Pride Park where all the trees are.
Fun.
And when everybody gets there, time approximate, maybe 7 o'clock or so, they will flip the switch and all those decorated trees will be lit, as well as the other lights that they have, associated lights in the park that are beautiful too. They turn a flagpole into a Christmas tree.
Yes, they do.
It is something to see.
It is so pretty.
100 Christmas trees this year. And, this is a community thing in the sense, not only does the Ohilco Society and those volunteers do all the work to set this up, but 100 people or organizations offices, whatever, families step forward to buy the trees and then decorate them. So, it really is truly a hometown Christmas. And of course, the money that comes in, I'm sure there's a lot of expenses involved for the Ahilco Society, but I also assume that that also helps them pay for the other things they do, including the Ohio Hill Country Festival in September, and then the 4th of July that they do, also the Wellston celebration
For
the
sure.
for the 4th of July, and they do fireworks that have to be paid for.
And it is, you're exactly right. It's just such a great event this weekend, but the park is just so awesome to visit.
It truly
And then
is.
if you can catch the Santa float, even more fun.
Right, exactly. And it's called the Wellston Ohilco Lights, and it is actually on the statewide map. They qualified
It's really
for one of the better lighting displays in the entire state. So it's definitely worth the trip to Wellston if you don't already live there. But there will be a holiday vendor fair at the depot that Make Wellston Beautiful is doing in conjunction with Small Business Saturday and, of course, the Christmas celebration. It will go from 3 p.m. To 8 p.m. They're also going to do a $500 cash giveaway that all the businesses have gone together to finance. You have to be present at the park lighting to win, but you got a chance for that. This year, there will be the ever-popular baby contest that will take place. That will be at the gazebo, and the theme is Santa Baby. So I think we're going to see some kids dressed up like Santa. It would be my guess. But the parade, by the way, is a new thing. The Wellston Lions Club had always had a parade on the first Saturday in December, which is not this Saturday, but next Saturday. It will still happen, but there's going to be a parade with the Wellston Ohilco Lights, too.
Okay.
So don't forget about the Wellston Lions Club parade on the 7th. It's going to be a wonderful event in Wellston. A lot of people really get involved, and it really puts you in the Christmas spirit heading down into those last 4 weeks of Christmas. Now, everything else in our local area, as far as community celebrations, is going to be later. There's going to be a tree lighting in Colton on the 6th of December. That's Friday evening, a week from this coming Friday. It's called Lena's Christmas Tree Lighting. Mm-hmm. That'll take place there. That's been going now for a number of years. And then the big celebrations in Jackson, Oak Hill, and MacArthur will all be on Saturday, December the 7th.
Yep.
And we're going to be telling you all about those. We'll have a good roundup story about what's going on in Wellston, again, in the Saturday paper, kind of reviewing there a little bit, updating. And then next Wednesday, we're going to have a big story about everything taking place next weekend.
Cool.
So, all coming our way. Speaking of holidays, we're going to wind back to Thanksgiving now, which, of course, is tomorrow, but the Jackson Food Program came through as they always do. They may be financially strapped, but they still did their Thanksgiving meals program. 175 meals went out on Monday. They distribute them. And how they do it, they used to do, the big community sit-down dinner. COVID kind of kicked that out. Mm-hmm. And they have done it this way now for several years. But it's the next best thing. Maybe it's even better because you get a food box that has the entire Thanksgiving meal in there, including the turkey. And the recipients get this box, and then they have plenty of time to actually get the Thanksgiving meal ready for Thursday or whenever they want it.
For sure.
And this only happened because the food program was still willing to do it. Nancy Bazin, the executive director, and a lot of folks stepped up to donate food, money. Bellisio donated the turkeys. So, it only happens because of a lot of Christmas charity.
Oh, yeah.
And Jeremiah Shaver, who was down there Monday to get the story about the food or the Thanksgiving meals giveaway, talked to Nancy Basden, and they have received some nice donations since, the word came out that they need help.
Yeah.
So, it needs to keep coming because, it is an ongoing need, but
yes, it is.
But the returns so far, the response has been very good so far. So we're so glad to report that. All right, we also need to tell you that starting on Monday, December the 2nd, you might think twice about taking your walk alone in the woods.
Yeah.
And I don't mean to make a macabre comment, but it is deer gun hunting season. And hunters will be out that first day very eager.
Yes, they will
to
be.
make a score.
And the deer will
I
be
would
running for
I would
their lives.
Put
So
it this way, definitely do not wear your deer costume.
no,
all right?
do not dress like Rudolph and run around in the woods.
But the deer gun hunting season begins on Monday, December 2nd, and will go through and will run until Sunday, December 8th, through Sunday, December 8th, I guess. And then there'll be an additional deer gun weekend on December 21 and December 22. Now, this is different than the archery season, which is already underway and which will continue, I think, into next year. And then there'll be a muzzle loading season that is just several days in January. So lots of opportunity to get the deer. Deer populations are up a little bit. And I think last year was the first year that the deer harvest, that's the euphemism they say for killing the deer, was actually up a little bit, where in past years it was down a little bit for whatever reason. Part of that, it's just not the deer population, it's deer hunting pressure. There's more deer everywhere in the parts of the state. They don't have to drive from Dayton and Cleveland to find a deer all the way to Jackson County.
Coming to you.
Right, exactly. Okay, a couple other things we want to tell you about before we get out of here. Don't forget Thanksgiving tomorrow. We got all those closures. Everything will be closed tomorrow. Some things closed Friday, some things not. You just have to check our directory. Connie Pelletier, the director of My Brother's Place in Wellston, that's food and clothing store in Wellston. She wanted to report that they will be closed on Friday, November the 29th. That's the day after Thanksgiving. That's normally a day that they're open, but because of the holidays, they will be closed this Friday. And then they'll be back in business next week. And the Jackson Elks Lodge, which has had such success with the Elks Hoop Shoot over the years, they wanted to announce that, yep, they're going to be doing that again. The Hoop Shoot, the local Hoop Shoot competition will be Sunday, December the 8th at the Jackson High School Fieldhouse. Registration begins at 11. The contest starts at noon. Doesn't sound like you have to, register in advance. Just show up then, but you need to know when it is and where it is. It is basically a three-throw shooting contest open to boys and girls ages 8 to 13. No cost to participate. And remember, we had a young man, Mason Malone, who went all the way to the Nationals.
That's right.
Last year, and not all that long ago. We had Mr. Carroll, who actually won the thing.
Yep.
And I believe he went to Massachusetts to do that. About
Pretty
10
good free
or
throw
12 years.
shooters around here.
It seems like that the Jackson area, because it's just not for Jackson City Schools, but the Jackson area really produces some eagle eye shooters.
Yep.
So
You're not kidding.
we will. The paper will be out on a regular schedule, Jennifer, this Saturday.
Okay.
And our offices here at Total Media, just want to let you know, will be closed both Thursday and Friday to the public. Some of us will be working a little bit to do what we need to do, kind of a limited staff, but everything should be out on schedule. And we also wanted to tell you, we probably threw a curveball at some of our readers of the print edition. If you've got your paper today, or you'll look at it a little later, we had a little technical problem with part of the paper. Some of the stories that were on the front page, they were on the front page, but you know how a story gets jumped to an inside page?
Yeah.
It's always, for us, it's the third page. They did not transfer right into the third page. And so, therefore, some of the stories on the front page, you only saw part of the story because it started over again on the inside page instead of the end of the story. We've never had that happen, and mistakes and errors happen, but what we're going to do is it is fixed online, so if you are a subscriber, you can also go online free of charge and see all those stories in their entirety. E-edition has been repaired. We are going to run those stories again in the print edition because we only gave you part of it. Didn't mean for that to happen, but it did. Spilt milk, not going to cry anymore.
Nope.
But we will kind of make our rectification on Saturday, but we'll have a bunch of new stuff too.
Very good.
All right.
All right. Well, again, we will, unfortunately, for you all that want to see the show, won't be here tomorrow or Friday. So sit back, relax, go out, do some local shopping when you have a chance to, and have a happy Thanksgiving.
We will do that, and you do the same.
Thank you so much. Adrian, have a happy Thanksgiving.
I'll try.
Boop, boop, boop. That's my turkey call.
That's not bad.
Thanks.
We'll send you up to Vinton County in May.
Yeah, right. All right. Well, have a wonderful, wonderful Thanksgiving weekend, and we'll see you back here on Monday. Bye-bye, everyone.
Happy holidays. From breaking news to heartwarming stories, the Telegram is your ticket to the latest buzz in town.
Read your daily dose of local headlines, sports, and entertainment and more in hand and on paper.
Get a print and digital subscription for only $7.95 per month. Delivered fresh every Wednesday and Saturday.
Visit thetelegramnews.com or call 740-286-3023 today.
Don't just read the news, be a part of it.